Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I've had requests in the past to show how to create a truck from scratch. I am going to attempt to build a Western Star 5700 Legacy cabin, and I am going to build it from the frame up. I'm not a modeler, so I don't model a whole lot of parts, and some parts were donated to me to use, and I really appreciate that because it does make my job a whole lot easier. Anyway, I finished up my Volvo Legacy truck. I have posted that link to that truck on my Facebook page, ATS Skins and Mods. So if you would like to get a copy of that truck, you can go to my Facebook page, sign up, and download the link. And so since I'm without a truck to do, I took a poll, and it seems like the majority of the people in the poll wanted a 5700 Legacy model. So that's the truck I decided to do. I did post a link to a file on my Facebook page, and I will be posting links to different parts for this truck as I get them modified. Just like any truck that you build, everything starts with the frame. So that's exactly where we're going to start with this build. So if you will open up Blender, delete your cube, and if you can remember where you placed that frame file at, it's in a Blender file. So all you have to do is just open it. And so I will, let's see, I will open that frame right now. And there we have it. That's the frame that we're going to start out with. And it's just a simple frame, but the shader is already present because you have some color in it. If the shader wasn't present, it would look kind of like a solid white, just like this. And but since we have the shader is present, then it is painted black, just like a regular chassis. So we'll put it back on the shader. And if you want to see the shader that's applied to this frame, you can go, let's see, just highlight it. And right here, it looks something like a globe. Just click on that, and then you can see this shader is material dash 0033 dash 389 chassis .002. All right, so that's the shader that's applied to this frame. And if you will notice, every shader has a file that's attached to it. In this case here, this is if you just put your mouse over the file, it shows the graphic. And in this case, this comes from the Volvo VNL 2018 texture, and this is a 389 chassis. But since we're building this truck from scratch, we're going to have to make all these shaders. We're just going to rename these shaders. We're not going to, if I can show you how difficult it is to build a shader. Let me find, here's the page. And let's see. These are all the set points for a particular shader, and it's very complicated, and that's why if you have a chance to grab the shader that comes with the part, it's best to do that instead of trying to create a shader from scratch, because there are a lot of settings, And unless you really know what you're doing with the shaders, they hardly ever come out right. And this may be something that I mess with later on in the future, but for right now, most of the shaders that come with the SCS trucks are just fine for our models. But if you ever want to create your own shader, your own, this is kind of what you would need to do. And these settings are over here too. But I believe most modeling and modelers that I see, they prefer using it. And these are called nodes. They prefer using the nodes. So all we're going to do is just rename the graphic for this frame so that it matches our truck. Instead of coming off a 389 or a Volvo VNL, we'll just have it for the Western Star truck. And let's see. All right, and if you look over here to the right side of your screen where my mouse is, let me try to drag this down. You'll notice this frame is out on its own. This is like a child with no parent. It's just wandering around lost. And we want this frame to belong to a parent, so it's not an orphan anymore. And that parent, we want it to be the truck. So we want every part that belongs on the truck parent, we want every part of the truck to be under that parent. So in order to do that, we just highlight the frame, and you come up here to the SCS Tools tab, and you click on it and hit Add, and then over here you'll see an item that's called Root Object. Just click on the root object. And now you have created a game object, and we're going to rename this game object. In order to rename it, just double click on the name. And we're going to name this truck. Oops. It doesn't have to be a complicated name, just truck. And I'll put legacy or leg, because sometimes I'll open up another truck that just says truck, and it'll show up as truck 1001 or truck 1002. But I know that this is the legacy truck that we're working on. And if you click on the arrow out to the side, you'll notice that the frame is now part of that truck root object, the parent and the child. All right, so now we've just created our first game object. And I think that I have figured out that we want to stretch this frame out. This frame is for a standard size Legacy sleeper, and for this particular Legacy, I want to make the sleeper a little bit longer. And so I did some calculations, and this Legacy frame needs to be at 37.75 feet long. So if you will measure the frame and find out how long this frame is, you can go over here to this tool here, and this is your measuring tool. And we can just measure the length of this frame. And to get it more precise, we can pull in, zoom in, and we can grab it. And we just adjust our ruler until we got the length of the frame. And so this frame right here is 10.09 meters long. And if you want that in feet, I know a lot of people use the metric system. I, for one, growing up in America, do not. I like things to be in feet. I can't tell the difference between a millimeter, centimeter, or meter. So if you want to convert this to feet, you can go over here to your menu, and you'll see something that looks like maybe like a chemistry tools. You can click on it, and there's a tab that's called units, and the unit system is set to metric by default, and you can set that to imperial, and then that will become your feet. All right, so now I know that this frame is 33.1132 feet long. And I need to stretch that to 37.75 feet for our truck. So one thing I want you to know, for the cab, the tanks, the engine, radiator, all that, if you basically from half the frame forward, you want this part of the frame to stay put, and that way all your parts will line up when it's applied to this truck root object. So the easiest way that I know to stretch a frame out and make sure that the frame gets in the right place is you need to make a duplicate frame. And in order to make a duplicate frame, all you got to do is just highlight the frame, left or right click, hit copy, and then paste. And it'll say paste data blocks. You just paste it, and now you have a separate frame. So the only thing you did, you made a duplicate of this frame here. And so our original frame is under our truck root object, and our copied frame is outside the root object. And if you notice, if we hide the regular frame, we still have frame.001 as our frame. So this frame has not been modified in any way, so it's in the correct position. We need to modify the frame that's in our root object, our truck frame. So we'll unhide that one, and we will hide our original frame. Okay, let's go back to, okay, let me undo that. I had it still in the measuring. What I want to do is go back to selection. And then I want to just stretch it. The easiest way that I know to stretch this frame out is to use the scale. But when you're using the scale will stretch the frame out along a particular axis, and it will stretch it in both directions. I haven't figured out a way to stretch it in only one direction. So this is called the y-axis, it's a green line. And if you want to look down the green line, you can click up here on, I forget what this is called, like a widget. All right, now we're looking down the frame in the y-axis. If we want to stretch it in the x-axis, this is how we would do it. This red line is your x-axis. And then the blue line is your, this is looking either down on the top or up through the bottom. But this is your z-axis, and this blue line here. So we want to stretch this frame along the y-axis. So we'll put our viewport along the x-axis so we can see the complete y-axis right here, this green line. And then we want to select a frame, and it will turn yellow when the frame is selected. Then to scale it along the y-axis, you hit S, and then Y for the axis you want to scale, and then you pull it out or pull it in, and now you have lengthened the frame. All right. So now remember, I told you that this part of the frame from half forward needs to be in the same position as our original frame. So we'll turn our original frame back on. This is our original frame. and you can tell that they do not line up. So what we need to do, we need to move our frame and our root object back to its original position. So I'll highlight the wrong frame. Okay, so this is our root object frame, the one that's in our truck root object, and we want to just slide it back along this y-axis. So the key for moving it is G for grab. So we'll hit G, and because we want to move it along the y-axis, we'll hit Y. And that highlights our green line, which is our y-axis. It lights up, and we can just slide this frame back. And notice how we just exposed the original frame. So we'll just slide it till it gets pretty close in the place of the original frame, and then we'll just zoom in on it to get a little bit more perfect. And here you can see the yellow outline is our root object frame, and then this area outside the yellow line, this is our original frame. So we need to move it just a little bit more. So we'll hit G for grab, Y along the y-axis, and then we can move this frame and get it a little bit more perfect. There, that's close enough. Now we still don't know how long this frame is, so we just got to keep tweaking it. And I'm not looking for exacts, somewhere in the ballpark of 37.75. Another thing, make sure that you're always on modeling and not layout. They look real similar, but the layout will cause you a lot of problems later on. So every now and then, make sure that you're editing, when you're editing things, that you're under the modeling tab and not the layout tab, because they are different. So we'll hide our original frame, and we'll need to measure this frame to see how long it is. So we'll use our measuring tool. And like I said, you don't have to be exact. So our measuring tool says we are at 39.34 feet, so we have to scale it in just a little bit. So we'll scale it in the Y direction, just a hair. And then we'll adjust our measuring. And this shows us at about 38.5 feet. So we'll scale it just a little bit more. So S for scale, Y along the axis. Now if you hold shift down when you move your mouse, it will scale a lot slower and a lot more controlled. So we want to scale in just a little bit. So I selected shift and moved my mouse, and I just scaled it in just a hair. So let's see. That may be a little bit too much. So we're at 37.2. I'd like for it to be between 37.5 and 37.75. So I'll scale it out just a hair. So scale Y. I hit my shift, and I just barely move it. All right. So now I will zoom in and make this a little bit more exact. Okay, it's the bottom line. All right, so I pull this up. And let's see, we are at 37.46 feet. So this is close enough for me. So I'm going to leave my frame at 37.46 feet. Now we have stretched the frame out. I have created a root object, which is the truck leg root object, and I have stretched the frame out for the truck that I'm wanting to build. So I appreciate y'all viewing this video. I'll have a new one up probably within the next day or so on adding parts to this frame, because we still have a lot of parts to add. We got cross braces, we got fuel tanks, def tanks, engines, axles, and so forth. And we're going to be adding. I'll be posting those links to those parts on my Facebook page, and so you can go there and you can download the parts, or you can create your own, or if you have access to different parts, you're more than welcome to make this truck unique. You know, stretch the frame out if you want to, if you want a longer truck frame. But this is what I want my Western Star Legacy, the length of it to be is 37.7 feet, thereabouts. But anyway, go to my Facebook page, ATS Skins and Mods. You can download everything from there. I'll post links to all my videos there. I'll post links to all the truck parts that I create. And you can follow along with the parts that I post on that site. I will be using in my videos. So thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button so you'll be alerted to all my new videos coming out. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.